This is Gary Schuster, your friendly neighborhood inventor, and you're with us at Innovation Cafe. Today, I want to talk about turning your ideas into something that you can monetize. I've had quite a few videos on this, but obviously, if you want to make a living with the power of your brain, you're going to have to find a way to, make a living with the power of your brain. Part of the process for monetizing inventions is turning them into a patent. Now, I know as a fellow inventor that we love to talk about our inventions. If you haven't bored your spouse or your kids or your parents with a description of an invention or 10, you're probably not doing it right. We love to talk about this stuff. So this is a beautiful synergy where the inventor's natural love of discussing their invention meets the need to explain the invention to somebody. And I'm talking about a patent examiner. Now, you can pursue a patent without ever talking to another human being. You can email your patent lawyer. The patent lawyer can file stuff electronically with the patent office. The examiner can give back, a rejection, and they can go back and forth and negotiate all via officially filed documents. That's not the way I would do it. In fact, I found that to be very ineffective. What you need to do is you need to talk to the patent examiner. Luckily, there's a provision for that. It's called an examiner interview. Your patent lawyer says either the patent examiner called and wants to discuss this, doesn't happen very often, or we should do an interview with the patent examiner. Now, if your patent lawyer will not do patent examiner interviews, probably time to get a different patent lawyer, okay? Because these are very effective. Now, when you get on the phone with the examiner, and I guess it's possible they could do it by Zoom. You can also do it in person. And if it's a very valuable invention, do it in person. I have had the experience of being on numerous examiner interviews, and they always kind of start out the same way with some introductions and, formal, I'm examiner so-and-so. Oh, hi, examiner. My name is, you introduce yourselves. You generally talk on a high level. Well, today we want to talk about this, and this is whatever problem you're running into in getting your patent issued. Now, it can happen only between the patent lawyer and the examiner if you let it. But again, don't do that. Get in on the interview yourself. And let me explain why that's important. I once did a patent examiner interview, and we were talking about some legal issues related to getting the patent issued, obviously. Okay? So as we're going back and forth, my patent lawyer, who's fantastic, Sherry Flynn of Coleman & Horwitz, shout out to you. She's on the patent examiner interview with me, and we're talking to the examiner, and the examiner asks about one legal issue, and then she answers something. Then I say, oh yeah, but this other case said this, and we're going back and forth. And then we move into more of a, what are the nuts and bolts of the invention and how does it work and why should it be patentable despite the cases in prior art that the examiner was citing. At that point, I said, well, examiner, let me tell you, when I came up with this, and he cut me off like right there, mid saying I got very few words out. He said, whoa, wait a minute. I'm like, okay, what did I screw up now, right? You don't like to be interrupted after two words. And so he said, yes, examiner? He goes, wait a minute. You're the inventor on this? I said, yes, examiner, I'm the inventor. He goes, oh, I didn't realize you were a person. I thought you were one of the lawyers. Now, as someone who is a lawyer, I'm not surprised. Lawyers are sort of part of the system and are viewed in terms of their function much more than in terms of their humanity. But he obviously viewed inventors differently. And all of a sudden, his attitude changed. He was interested. How did you come up with this? How did you deal with this problem? How did you come up with that solution to it? And all of a sudden, we were engaged. And of course, I, found my personality turned up to 11 at that point. Because when you're talking about the legal stuff, it's pretty dry, it's pretty boring, and, they're not going to fall asleep during the examiner interview, but, no one's on fire. But when you get an inventor talking about how it happened, why it happened, how you solved this or that, man, that is something. And the examiner picks up on your excitement. And so now we're just having an exchange of exciting thoughts on it. And that's how you make the connection with the examiner. You get them engaged enough with you, and they'll really work hard to understand what the invention is, how you came up with it, why it works, how it works, and perhaps more importantly, they'll give you a really fair shot at getting a patent. If they're just dealing with lawyers, they might be at the end of a busy week and think, I can just get a non-final rejection. It shouldn't take too much time. But once they know you as a person, all of a sudden they have an investment in a human being. And I don't mean some unfair advantage. I mean that they recognize that you're a person instead of just a bunch of papers across their desk. Now, I've had a few other examiner interviews. Perhaps the best examiner interview story, and I can't go into details on it because it's someone I was helping in my capacity as a lawyer, but this person had a couple of phone calls with the examiner, and on the second call, they realized that they shared a love of a certain hobby, which I don't even want to say because I don't want to potentially identify the client. But they bonded over that. And now I've never heard of an examiner interview going over half an hour. It just doesn't happen. They talked for hours. And they talked about the invention, and they talked about other things, and back to the invention. And wow, they bonded, and the examiner actually guided everyone through the process and said, oh, well, these are the problems I see. Here's where I think that you can get the patent issued. You should focus on this and that. It was really helpful. Like, this is actually how all patent examiners should be, which is someone comes to you with an invention. If it's patentable, they should be totally on board with helping you get the patent issued. But they're overworked, and it doesn't always happen. So I want to really encourage you, as much as you love talking about your patents, love even more talking about your patents with a patent examiner, because it'll help you, and it'll help your lawyers, and everyone will understand each other much better. So, briefly put, I know not everyone likes to hear about our inventions all the time, but we love to talk about them all the time. Don't shy away from talking about them the one time that it's most important. We are live from Innovation Cafe in beautiful downtown Vancouver. This has been Gary Schuster, your friendly neighborhood inventor, reminding you that innovation is a gift that comes with your brain. Use it. You can do it. See you next time.